Yes, ma'am.
Yes, great. So, hello everyone. Good afternoon, all. Thank you so much, IIT, for giving me wonderful opportunity to talk on a very interesting topic, that is the classroom psychology. So, it is a sort of teacher's guide for a happy teaching learning experience for both of us. I have written a book on social psychology, which is which is published by international publisher Vikas Publication, and it is in the syllabus of Chandigarh University now. Um, Today we will be discussing few angles of how psychological impact to the students particularly, and what is the function of psychology in the classroom altogether. Being a teacher, we are already into multi-varied roles. We are playing multifaceted roles in classrooms, and we are the one with whom students are exposed for a longer time. Now, understand, teaching is not traditionally as it was coming, like giving a lecture in the classroom and or giving a dictation to the students, and the students are learning. It doesn't happen like this anymore. The definition of teaching itself is changed a lot. There have happened a lot of research, and there are various renowned names you might be aware about, like Noam Chomsky, Piaget. Thereafter, various like classical conditioning, school of behaviorism, school of cognitivism, and so on. So now, since the time of human evolution, the brain has developed in various phases altogether. And along with that, has developed a science named as neurology. And a lot of importance have been given to the cognitive development of a brain or cognitive development of a child or a student. There are various phases of development in every student, from early childhood to the adulthood itself. As we do have a variety of participants today, audience. So I will be addressing some common things which will be applicable to the teachers who are in the schools, might be in the colleges or universities. But some on the other side, the scenarios are the same. Let us begin with an interesting factor. We have behind every mask is a child, and behind every child is a story. What does it mean? That every child is unique each in different senses altogether, and every child does have a different story holding in the heart. Now there are multiple reasons which are influencing the behavior of the child altogether. Being a teacher, we are standing there on the stage facing around, let's say, 30, 40, or 60, the crowd of 60 students, let's say. They are not one and all for us. They are, each one of them are different, individual, and as a teacher, our responsibility to deal with each one of them. Now I understand that due to the changing scenarios, the regulatory bodies like UGC, NAC, we do have involved into multiple things like documentation, plannings of making various teaching plans, and functioning on various multifaceted roles along with being a class teacher, right, or subject teacher. Yet our major commitment is towards teaching, towards guiding children, and towards giving justice to the needs and wants of children. So we have to put efforts in understanding each student individually first. Now, here is a very interesting quote by Oxley. Building positive learning relationship and intrinsically motivating children to learn are important for effective behavior management. Now, as a teacher, it is our responsibility to make sure that we build a positive environment in the classroom. Now, understand, it is very important for us also to remain mentally sane, at the same time to have a positive mindset. A mindful practice for personal and professional life is always recommended, and it is always important for us as a human being, individual, and also as a professional, as a teacher. So it is our responsibility as a teacher to build a positive environment in the classroom, because it ultimately helps the student to nurture better, to motivate them in learning, and this learning ultimately impact their behavioral patterns. And there have happened various interesting stories or various interesting studies also, case studies and some theoretical studies also, which have shown how this learning influence the behavior of a person, and how this various behaviors bring various opportunity to the students. So learning and behavior has a very close connection. Behavior is always influenced by the factors like stimuli, that is kind of stimulus that we give to the students, kind of motivation and intensity of acquisition, the power of students to acquire the knowledge, and the level of adaptability. Now, power of acquisition differs from person to person, students to student, and but level of adaptability is in control of teacher, where we can start putting efforts by understanding the needs and the capacities of students. We can start giving certain kind of stimulus, certain kind of feed, which will be helpful for the students to get as much as required. Now let us understand psychology in the classroom setup, in the structure, in the box of the classroom. Now, the first lesson that we have to mind, that is, a hero is an ordinary individual always, who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles, as rightly said by Christopher Reeve. Now, we do have every ordinary individual in the form of student there in our classroom. But to make them heroes, the responsibility comes forth as to the teacher itself. And how does it going to happen? If we give the correct feed and correct stimuli, only then the correct ordinary individual is going to shape into the hero in one's life. Now, these are some important things we have to consider here first. As rightly said by Benjamin Franklin, tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. So the key, the success of a good learning and teaching ambience is to involve. So teacher's responsibility is to involve the students in the subject itself. How can you do that? You can do it by making or building connections with them first. Thereafter, creating various engaging activities which will help them to stay connected, stay engaged in that topic. Thereafter, you have to start giving respective responsibility to various students. So they will also have some role to function, some role to play in the class. Previously, what used to happen? There used to happen, lecturing methods of teaching. So teachers used to come and use a chalkboard, or through the delivering lecture, teacher used to teach and go, and students were just mere participants or mere listeners, and that does not help out in building a very conducive learning environment. For the conducive learning environment, we have to go for inductive method of teaching, in which student is at the center and teacher is just a facilitator or a mentor or a guide. The major chunk of the portion of learning student has to do on their own. So a teacher also has to give that much freedom to the students so they can have self-paced learning and self-discoveries also. But how that is going to happen? You have to definitely build a strong foundation for that. But at the same time, along with that, let them err and learn. Let them experiment and learn. Now I came across, I read various articles. I love reading about classroom psychology, because psychology is another my favorite subject along with English, and it is closely connected. Because as being a teacher, we have to be really good psychologist also. We have to be sure that we understand the crowd that we are going to deal with, or the crowd that is dependent on us for their own growth. So we have to understand their mindset, their needs, and their making their healthy, creating their healthy minds. So this is a responsibility for as a teacher. So while glancing through or surfing through, I came across a very interesting article uh, on Doc Lomo, who is a founder of Uncommon Schools, and he has actually studied various successful teachers, and he has put it in the form of case studies. And then he has found out the best practices those successful teachers do. And how did he identify the successful teachers? He took the feedback from the students on various ratios of who is a very good teacher, what are the things you like, and then they have to give rating to those teachers on various parameters. And then he studies and interviewed these teachers also, and he came out with some conclusions. So these are certain common things that he found in a good teacher, and who actually uses psychology as one of the very important tool for teaching and learning in the classroom effectively, and creating a very good learning ambience, healthy learning ambience environment in the classroom. So a teacher who greets every student is considered to be the best teacher. Why do you know that? Because when you greet every student, when you try, even whenever you are addressing every student, I understand that we are dealing with a crowd of students every time. And we are teaching in multiple classroom to multiple levels itself. And every year we face new batches. So it is not possible for us to remember the names of students, right? But whenever it is possible, try to recognize the students with some trait or characteristics, and try to remember the names of at least certain students for certain reasons. If you don't remember, ask them and try to address them with their names. When you are addressing them with their names, it is going to build a very personal connection, that see, teacher knows me. So student also becomes alert, and student become responsible to engage and participate in the classroom. So whenever you are greeting with every individual, every student, it is going to give a kind of respect to their individuality. Even it is a child, school going child, a small child, every child, see, we do have, Sigmund Freud, Ferdinand de Saussure, sorry, has come out with this theory of egos. We do have ego and super ego. So this ego, nurturing ego at certain extent is good, but not uh, turning it into being an ego that is going to hamper or dominate or tamper students' progress. But to shape that ego in a proper way so student can stay motivated, stay activated, is the responsibility of a teacher. So we must greet every individual, every student, at the same time your colleagues also. We have to develop this practice, as it is going to create a positive kind of psychology among the students, and which is going to make them stay connected to us. At the same time, address students with their names whenever possible. If you don't remember name, don't hesitate to ask the name of a child. So the child will feel little personalized, that yes, teacher is paying me personalized attention. Thereafter, that voice of a voice quality of a teacher. You have to train yourself to have a very strong and firm voice. Now I understand when there is a huge crowd of students and when you have consecutively many lectures one after the other, it creates a strain on your vocal cords. So you have to train yourself to talk in a loud voice, but not in a shouting voice instead. There is a very strong boundary line between talking loudly and shouting out. So you have to train yourself to talk loudly so students can listen you. See, if you have a mumble voice, if you have a very low voice, it automatically creates psychologically a very different kind of impact on the listener, and the listener's attention gets diverted, distracted. But if your voice is strong, very firm and clear, then the listener always pay attention to your talk. So you have to make sure that your voice has to be firm, strong, and clear. And for that, you have to train yourself. You can practice yourself. How can you make your voice strong, or how can you make your voice clear? You can take any different type of text for reading and read aloud. Practice reading aloud. That is going to enhance your pronunciation, stress patterns, proper pauses, at the same time accuracy in your speech. So you have to train yourself. If you are dealing with a big crowd and where your voice is not reaching to the last student, then you have to take a definitely help of a technology, and that is also going to make you look smart. So for example, you can take portable mic phones or the speakers, so attach or collar mics, so you can attach to your dress, and then you can speak. At the same time, you can even use hand-free mics, or whenever possible, if you have a podium, then you can address the crowd with the mic. So on the mic. So it is going to make sure that the last student is also listening you out clearly. So the knowledge is reaching to every student there. At the same time, it is also helping you out not to create any kind of strain on your vocal cords, because we have to take care of ourselves, because our voice, our quality of voice is the key, the soul of our whole teaching. So teaching is a very interactive thing where speaking is involved. So you have to train your voice properly. Thereafter, mastery over the subject. Definitely, we should not forget about this. You always have to make sure that you always prepare before going in the classrooms. Even if you are teaching the same topic, same subject again and again to several batches, that's okay. But you can always add on some new points. You can always bring some latest studies, references of some latest studies in it. That is also going to make you stay active, and you can also enjoy your subject, and that will not become monotonous or boring for you also, because many times we have to keep teaching the same subject again and again. Now understand, if you start using the same content again and again for various classes, you are first yourself first is going to get bored, and that boredom is going to reflect on your in your teaching itself. So you have to make sure that you should always keep reading, keep adding new references, keep referring to various articles, various good studies. So student will also feel very connected, and they will also feel motivated that they are getting updated knowledge. And this live knowledge, connection of live knowledge, is going to make them connect with the real essence of the subject. Thereafter, bridging the prior knowledge. Every student do have some prior knowledge, and as a teacher you have to make sure that you bridge the prior knowledge to the existing one or to the new topic. For example, we will be discussing this in detail in further slide anyways, for because this bridging is very important. If you don't understand the capacity of student, what do they know, then it will be very difficult for you to build the new core. For example, some student might have studied this already, and that will be monotonous for them. So for that, you have to give some advanced challenges, some advanced examples, some latest case studies in it, so they will feel little elevated. And if they are able to connect their prior knowledge to whatever you are speaking, then they will feel motivated. They will feel uh, capable to take the subject in, to take the knowledge and handle that subject properly. Thereafter, engaging. Those teachers were proved to be the best in dog study. Those who were making sure the students are engaged. As we have seen, Benjamin has said, involve me and I learn. So these teachers always used to make sure that their teachings used to be activity based. So students used to be actively involved in various tasks, and teacher also used to give responsibility to students. So they used to, so their classroom used to be the platform of experiment and learn. So student used to experiment on various topics, whatever subject you teach, through various activities itself. And then they used to stay engaged. They used to interact with each other. They used to apply their knowledge. It was an opportunity for them to apply the knowledge. And you can even change the intensities of these activities throughout various lectures. So from the basic, simple, to you can take it to some challenging activities like problem solving, where students have to understand the problem, analyze it, and then apply the existing knowledge, whatever theories they are learning in the class. It will be the opportunity for them to apply the knowledge of those theories in order to resolve that issue or resolve that problem. At the same time, they will also get, after the completion of that task, after the successful completion of that task, they will get the sense of achievement, which is a key for motivation for the students to learn. Here, it doesn't mean that teacher does not have any role. Teacher's role is of an observer, mentor, facilitator, and a guide. So teacher can observe the students' progress. They can recorrect them if they are going wrong, student going wrong. At the same time, they can guide them. If student have got some mental block, then teacher can help the student to resolve that out. Once the mental block is removed, student can flawlessly progress. So these are like some very important things. These best teachers are also best because they used to spark the imagination of the students. They used to engage them by storytelling, giving various references. So students used to apply their imagination to understand or that particular topic. and that is to give them enhancing kind of understanding altogether. At the same time, so this teachings also used to be very creative. So this creative teachings also, let's say, these teachers used to make students to apply some creative insights in the learning of that subject or come out with something new. So innovations and discoveries, creativity used to make the students feel live, feel engaged, and feel motivated to learn. Now, role of a principal. Now, I have intentionally taken this point because when we are addressing about teachers or classroom psychology, the role of a principal also matters a lot. Principal is not just an administrator who will sit in the cabin or just engage with the teachers and take the progress of the students. It's also the responsibility of a principal to just step out of the cabins, visit various classrooms, interact the students when they are roaming around, have a very healthy, positive interactions, be approachable, so student will also feel to come back to you and give some feedback, positive, negative. They can share their issues, they can give suggestions, because the students are also very mature individuals. They do have very creative kind of insights to look at things in a very different way. So if you open them or keep them open for the suggestions also, the suggestions may also work as a growth for the school or colleges also. Now you have to definitely customize this system. So there will be always a respect maintained between a principal and the students altogether. At the same time, they also feel to be belonged to the school. See, when you open this kind of open discussions, the students will also feel belonged. They will feel responsible towards their own school, towards their own class, towards their own college. So that is why you have to always have open discussions. At the same time, principal can also make sure to understand the issues teachers are also facing. So throughout the experience the principal has, this they can give some kind of good suggestion or support system, so the teacher can definitely resolve that particular issue. Because when we are dealing with a classroom with multiple students with multiple mindsets, we can't apply the same theory or same kind of practice on all those 60 students, because they may have different needs and different kind of understanding perception levels. At the same time, some students are very challenging also. Stanford University survey has said those teachers who are applying this learner psychology in the classroom, who are making their classroom conducive for the learning environment, are actually giving 50% more to the students than the average teachers. And so that learners are also learning the skill of applying their knowledge in reality, and their opportunities of getting good jobs, being on really good positions, are also getting higher. So this Stanford University survey had happened especially on the alumni. Thereafter, the American novelist Gail Godwin has said, good teaching is just quarter% of the preparation and three-fourths of the performance, how you perform in the class. So when you perform like an artist, perform like an actor. So you enact whatever you are saying. At the same time, that has to be dramatic, engaging, and involving to the students. So they will stay engaged whenever they watch some movies or some, drama. So it should be like that. So this saying is very, very a keynote here that we have to mark. Now, boosting belief system is also one of the important classroom psychology trait. Belief system is, if you can see in this pyramid of the various characteristics or of a student or of a human being, belief system is at the core, at the bottom. So we have to work on that. Then we can build values, attitude, experiences, and then conditions, and build a very good human being. So students' beliefs about intelligence and ability influence their cognitive functioning of and learning. How do they learn, and how their approaches also. After all, students who believe they are not good in schools always struggle to learn, but this may be due to their mindset. So as a teacher, it is our responsibility to change their mindset. Understand this mindset can be caused by a bad teacher also. If a teacher is giving a negative feedback to student, or making always saying that, oh, this is a very difficult subject and you have to pay attention. If you begin like that, then that is going to affect the mindset of the student on the day one itself, and they are going to take your subject as a difficulty, something that is very difficult, and they will start avoiding it out. If you make your lessons with the sentences like, we are going to learn something very interesting, creative, engaging, or something which is very realistic, that is going to help us to groom and grow our life and live a very good life. This is something very interesting. Then they are going to start at least listening you out, and then you have to convince them how. Let's say, for example, science or maths is always considered to be very difficult subjects. But why is that? Because we are, since our childhood, always listening these sentences that these are very difficult subjects. But these are the realities of life. If we master these subjects, our life becomes very easy, very smooth. So if you start making students believe that this is going to help you out to have a very good life, lead your life with ease, then they are going to at least start taking it positively. Then you have to put efforts in putting some activities and helping them out to apply those theories in reality on the experiment basis. When you can prove it out that how certain theory applied in reality, if your mathematical skill for calculation when you're going for groceries or some other kind of buying helps you out to have a quick calculation, and it saves your time, then they will have the sense of achievement and their belief system is going to boost in a positive way. So teachers have a tremendous ability to assist students in learning by continuing to treat all students as capable learners. Every student is a capable learner, always remember. Please understand, teachers do have tremendous potential. Your one act of kindness or one act of cruelty is going to impact the life of an individual thoroughly. You are going to either make or collapse the individuals. So it is a responsibility of every teacher, your performance, your existence, your behavior in the classroom, your treating to the students is going to impact their life on a very larger scale. They are staying with you more hours than they are staying with their parents or with other part of the societies. So always remember, you are going to create a very deep impact on them. So you have to always be responsible and always have to train yourself, get expertise, gain expertise in understanding the psychology of the classroom well and applying it in reality for the successful execution of it, so you can build really good individuals from your classes. Previous knowledge, what students already know, has an impact on their learnings. Before entering any classroom, students have already learned a great deal. They do have something at least at the back. So understanding a student's learning history is very important, as it helps to shape what to teach today. For example, if some students belong to some different kind of social background or financial background, then you have to check it out. What are their understanding capacities? Then you can simplify your topic or add on some interesting elements which are going to be very helpful for them to understand, easy to understand. So in order, with that basic simpler understanding, you can take to the higher level of the studies. This is the foundation of the fundamental learning. So you always have to make sure to breach the previous knowledge. For that, what are the things you can do? How will you understand that? You can always take help of the pre-tests. So you can prepare questionnaires like in the form of multiple choices. On day one, you can ask students to solve that out. After the calculation, you will understand the capacities of student. For example, I am an English teacher, so I'll make some very basic question paper for testing the grammar knowledge or basic communication knowledge of students, and then I'll make some MCQs. Nowadays technology is at hand, so I can simply make Google questionnaire, so I'll immediately get the results also counted. I don't have to personally check every paper. So I'll understand the capacity of students, who are the slow learners, who are the advanced learners, what is the kind of crowd that I'm going to deal with. Are they very basic learners? Do they need more help in grammar, or are they advanced learners who are really good, whose foundation of English is good, and am I need, then it is more challenging then to deal with the advanced students, because you have to give some advanced kind of feed, which is going to make them subject interesting and not boring. Because especially with the subjects like English, the advanced learners do overlook by thinking that, oh, what to study in this subject, we already know everything. So you have to make sure that this kind of attitude should be nurtured in your classes. So you have to always make sure that they should have some challenging task at the hand, so they will stay engaged, and out of that they should have some learnings at the end of the day. So they will feel like, I have learned something and I have yet to learn more things. And it is a reality that knowledge is unparalleled. Knowledge is never ending. There is always something that you can always add on. And as a teacher, you should always be a very good researcher. So you can add that research aptitude in your teaching, in your lesson planning. And you also have to train your students also for the very good research skills, because research is a key essence of all learning and teachings. With the research, whatever knowledge they are going to gain, they are going to become capable to apply it in reality only through the research. Generalization of skills is very important, because skills are more of context based. So you have to generalize those skills. But when it comes to new context, then they are not able to apply those. So you have to, as a teacher, train them that whatever general knowledge you have to generalize that skill. And then you have to be able to apply the skill to whatever comes forth as a new thing. So teacher assists students in learning how to generalize the results, those new skills. For example, to put it in other way, students will only learn to fit new knowledge and skills into new framework and context if they are shown how to make those initial generalizations. A teacher must guide students in understanding how new abilities and learning transfer to other applications outside of the learning context. For example, as shown in the picture, if you show that, if you sow a seed of certain seed, let's say, okay, of if you plant, uh, if you sow a certain seed, and if you water that seed along with proper nurturing, then that seed sprouts, and then you have to take care of it, and then it grows in a small plant, right? Now students have learned it out, so whenever they will find a seed, they will start sowing and nurture it out to grow it to a plant. But not all plants are grown out of seeds. For example, roses, they have to plant the stick of a rose plant, right? So that's a new thing that they will be learning. So you have to show them out the same process of nurturing you have to do and gain the new skill. So in order to do that, they have to first generalize their normal things, because when they see a plant directly, they won't understand what to do now. Then you have to train them out how existing knowledge you can apply for the new thing or new situations you come across. So this is going to build their a very good problem solving skills. Feedback is very important. See, being a teacher or being an individual also, we always want feedback. Whenever we wear a new dress, we go and show our beloved ones and ask them, how am I looking? So what are we searching for? We are actually looking for a feedback from them. So feedback actually help you out a lot. It, in the same way, teachers' feedback matters a lot to the student. Now, feedback doesn't mean that it's always positive. It can also be negative. But timely feedback is very important. If something is going wrong with the students' progress, let's say, or students' behavior, if a negative feedback is given in time, then that is going to help the student to remove that obstacle from their personality, and they will get a time to grow better. So clear, a well explained, detailed feedback and a timely feedback is very important. Feedback for both correct and incorrect learning is very essential here. Right time feedback is very much counted. If you give feedback later on, then that does not matter. That does not help them much. So, as a teacher, it is a responsibility of a positive classroom psychology that you have to give timely and very detailed feedback to each and every individual. Please do not overlook this. That's why we do have mentor mentees. So, every teacher is a mentor to the student. So every teacher is a mentor to student, and you have to be responsible. Find some time. You can also open some time slots from your schedule that where students can come and talk to you personally if they have some issues. These issues can be in learning certain subject, your subject. If you are a class teacher, then might be facing some issue in learning some other subject of some other class teacher, or it might be some personal problem of coping into the class, coping to the studies, coping mechanism issues with other individuals, interpersonal issues. They can't gel up with their classmates, of somebody is bullying them out, or they may have some family related issue or some other issue. So this kind of open kind of learning dialogue has to happen, and that is possible only if they understand this teacher gives me a very important feedback, and that is very essential for my growth. So for example, let's say receiving feedback on errors in a unit of algebra long after the class has moved on to the next class is ineffective, because teachers are routinely overworked, and feedback measures must take the place of other more traditional but less effective grading methods. So whenever issue has happened, timely feedback has to be given. So what you can do is you can plan your schedule that one of the classes at the end of the month will be the feedback class, where you can take some tests. Let's say if you have taken some assessments, okay, internal assessment, not summative one, formative assessment, then even at the end of the result of the formative assessment, you can have a one-on-one word with the student, where you can give some feedback how student can improve in certain things. If student is doing something really good, then you can give a feedback on how student can go on the advanced level in that way. So these are very important things. Now, after all, after one certain extent, our role ends. I'd written one very interesting paper. As in our English criticism, we do have a concept called death of the author. So death of the author is author writes, right, a novel or text, but when it falls in the hand of the reader, author is not there sitting by the side of the reader, right? There are multiple readers who are reading a poem and interpreting on their own. And then comes a new kind of conclusion, a birth to the new interpretations. And there is the death of the author. Or as an author, I might have some different thought process when I'm looking at the cloud and I'm writing something different. When my reader is reading it out, the reader do have some different experience, right? So in the same way, there is a death of a teacher also after beyond the classroom. You're not there with them beyond the classroom. But that is why it is our responsibility to make them self-potential, build their foundation very strong whenever they are there with you for those 40 minutes, 60 minutes in the classroom, and build their foundation so strong. At the same time, generalize their skills, train them to apply their existing knowledge to the new things those come, so they can fly on their own when they will be going beyond the confines of the classroom, because there you are not there to help them out. Otherwise they will struggle, they will have mental blocks, they will have obstacles where they will not be able to move ahead in their professional life. They have to move on, they have to move on their own, right? So this self regulation is very important. Self regulation help them for enhancing their self abilities, self regulations, especially the regulations of emotions here. Now, self-regulation in students aid learning, and self-regulation skills can be taught. They are not like inborn skills. As a teacher, we are the experts. We are more experienced. So we can always give a good and correct feed to the students, so they will get a very good kind of guidance at the right time. Self-regulation refers to the students' ability to control their emotions. Now, controlling their emotion doesn't mean that they should not express when they feel like crying or feeling like expressing their anger. Only thing is, any kind of emotion should not be expressed in outbursting. If you hold and suppress the emotion, it is going to outburst also, or else suppressing emotion will also lead them into depression. So you have to train them to regulate their emotions in the proper way, to express their emotion in a very channelized way, in a very creative way, or in a very potential way. For example, to express their anger, they can even talk on that matter in a very calm and composed voice without losing their calm. At the same time, if they have some sadness, they can even express their sadness by interacting or speaking with someone, or painting or writing it down on a piece of a page. At the same time, controlling their emotions, not going impulsive, overwhelmed by something, is also going to be helpful for them. Otherwise, they will always feel distracted. They will not be able to focus on the studies. So this, if you as a teacher notice these behavior patterns, you have to point it out at the right time. At the same time, not in front of the class, because students do have their egos developing out, right? As we grow, our egos also start taking shape in a positive way. Here I'm saying, as an individual, they are developing as an individual. So you have to make sure that you have a personalized talk with them in a very different way, not pointing out directly, but you have to by telling some stories or case studies, so student will understand the importance of this talk, and then they will open for the acceptance of whatever you are saying, and then they will start listening you out. So this self-regulation goes beyond mere teaching, and students follow the classroom rules. Students enjoy learning and perform better when they are intrinsically rather than extrinsically motivated to success. This self-regulation is going to help them self-motivate. You can't motivate individuals or at all times, right? It's not your responsibility. As a teacher, you do have some limitations. So it is your responsibility to make sure that you build the foundation really well. You help them out all those minutes they are with you, and make sure that the minutes or hours when they are not with you, they will be capable, they will be potential to handle themselves well. How is that possible? Only when you are going to train them well. Now, this is a very interesting factor, expectancy effect. Now, expectancy effect here in a positive way, we are saying. Many times what happens, teachers or parents do have a lot of expectations from their children, right? And that overburdens them. And that also kills their essence or joy of learning and joy of studying something. Or it might be they are forced to study something or pursue something that they don't interest in. They are not interested in it. But this expectations is very different, and it is very tricky thing. You have to be smart enough to put your expectations on the students, so they will feel motivated and not burdened. Okay, for example, let's say students who are instructed by teachers who believe that a student is capable of learning a task or skill or mastering a domain typically perform far better. If you say that, yes, you can do it, I know that you are really good in it, try your best, you can go beyond this, you put more efforts and try scoring better. This is not your capacity, this is very average that you have done. Try doing it out, and I'm there to help you out. If you face any difficulty, if you face any kind of obstacle, go there, mentor them, guide them to remove that obstacle and let them walk on their own again. But doesn't mean that you have to leave the hand completely. You have to parallelly walk side by side, observing their steps, observing their progress, if they are doing it good. Once you are very much sure, then beyond the classroom confines, you will be very much relaxed, very much carefree that your student is going to handle themselves really well. How is that going to be possible? Only if you are being there as a facilitator, motivator, or a mentor. So you have to be a mentor, not a dictator in the classrooms. This is something very important. So this positive expectation is very helpful. Now, emotional well-being. Students do have multiple kind of issues they face, and their emotional states are the conditions happen due to some external or internal environment that they are nurtured in. So their emotional well-being actually impact their academic performance, the learning ability, and ultimately their own development, right? So we have to be careful, or we have to pay attention to their emotional well-being. So in the classroom, you have to create a very positive psychology, positive mindful practices. You might have heard about these words, right? So these mindful practices like gratitude, helping each other, peer learning, teamwork, right? Task-based activities. Thereafter, reward policies. Reward not in the form of finances. Rewards like, in as nursery children or LKG, UKG children, they get star on their hands when they do good, or teacher gives star in their notebooks. What are those? They are like actually rewards which are motivating them to perform better, to continue their good performance also. But when we grow adult, we again think that this is very childish. This is not childish, this is psychology. Again, understand, this is a positive psychology in the classroom. So you have to plan for the rewards in the classroom, but now in a different way. Not giving stars on that their hands is going to motivate them. You have to give them rewards in the form of marks or some extra grade or some kind of different concession on involvement on, or you can even give them some different roles, some different titles like classroom representative, some committee head or something. That is a kind of reward that you are giving them. So that is also going to help them emotionally grow better and stay motivated. So students face family or social challenges that teachers are not always aware about. And of course, as a teacher, you are not supposed to know everything, that because that is impossible. But definitely when students behave something random, you can't don't judge them immediately. Try to understand the reason behind it. There are always reasons behind every kind of reason, every kind of behavior, positive, negative, both. Learning is moderated and shaped by challenges and ongoing emotional experience. You can't control their external environments, those are affecting them, but you can definitely help them out to be strong, to face the challenges or handle the emotions, or at least try to shield themselves well, so those external drawbacks are not going to impact their healthy emotional growth, right? So there you can help them out to nurture well when they are in the classroom. For example, sudden drop in the performance is one of the hallmark of trouble within the socio-emotive system of a student. When a student's grades or performance measures drop precautiously, it's often due to a painful or distressing some emotional state. That might be some financial condition, some family issue, or some bullying of someone, or some depression related issue. It might also be a biological issue, some vitamin deficiency also, or some hereditary issue. Depression can be also hereditary, right? It can be anything. Okay, but you have to make sure that you identify the problem. These are certain kind of very challenging kids we often face in the classes. And fortunately, they, let's say that they are very less in number and they need more attention. But it doesn't mean that they are attention seekers. They might be, but you have to plan different techniques to handle them out. If I discuss about some technique here, not necessarily that is applicable on those 10 students in 10 classes who are troublesome, in the troublesome category, because every child do have different tantrum and you should be able to handle them in a different way. There are this kind of students who always disturb the classroom. They do have sensory processing disorder. They are very aggressive. Some use improper language, inattentive, and avoiding schoolwork, always argue or answer back even to teacher, very impolite. They do have stealing, anger outburst issues, lying, latecomers, slow learners, some or advanced learners also, fast learners, some class management issue, or learning environment related issue. These students actually disturb the classroom learning, the whole classroom psychology, because there are some number of students who are always very good followers and they do not have a good kind of understanding at that time which one to choose, and they may happen to choose a bad behavior to be followed, and they also get easily influenced because this is something easy to go for. Okay, rather than working very hard and scoring good grades, it is easy to avoid the task and submit late. And they understand even if you submit late, teacher is going to grant you good marks also. Then that is also going to help them build a very negative kind of psychology. And that is going to create a behavioral problem. So that behavioral problem can be caused by certain kind of practices happening around them. You might not be the part of it or reason of it. Teacher might not be the reason of it, but you have to identify and try to have an open conversation with the potential disaster, the one who is causing this disaster. That might some familial person, social some character, so from the social environment, might be some other teacher who is accepting delayed submissions, or who is always revoking students anger, or might be somebody who has treated students bad in the school, so they do have a very bad kind of impression about that particular subject teacher. So even there is a new teacher, they will always take it negative or something. So you have to very calmly, very patiently handle these situations out and apply various strategies. Sometimes you have to be very firm, very strict, and somewhere you have to be very polite, very soft hearted, kind hearted, but always be empathetic. As a teacher, you have to be always be empathetic. For that, what you have to be, you have to be the elephant teacher. This something is the core essence of today's session. You always have to be the elephant teacher. Observe the elephant mama and the kid and the other elephants around. That is a something very good kind of learning that we must have as a teacher. And an elephant teacher is going to be the successful teacher to build a positive classroom psychology and have, because this teacher knows how to have mindful practices in the classroom. You always have to raise standard. What is the meaning of being the elephant teacher? You have to raise the standards. You should always lower your voice while talking to the student who is always rude or always impatient answering back. You don't have to shout back and again answer back the anger in the anger. That is like a mirroring. You should not mirror it out. You have to stop that reflection. So for that, you have not necessarily you have to behave contrast, but you have to be very calm and patient in your approach. Raised and harsh voices hinder learning. If you start scolding some student again and again, that is going to demoralize the student, and that is going to impact the student in a negative way. Joy of involvement. As a teacher, you should also enjoy the process of teaching. Enjoy watching your children learning, student learning. That is also very positive dopamine you are going to get. So always participate in joyful experiences daily. So create activities for students where you are also engaged with them. For example, you are creating something out of paper, so you can make us team of the students who are also helping you out to give some elements, so you can build something together. Or you can also help different, you can make different teams of students and give them some, provide them some material. So you can also observe how creatively they do have very different ideas, abundant ideas, and they have very different lookout of at simple this elements also. Give them some random leaves of trees and ask them to create something out of that, and see how wonderful things they come out with. And give them some basic things, and ask them to give them freedom to create anything that they want. Ask them to use only natural elements and create anything. Not necessarily whatever is your subject. You might be teaching science, maths, some language or history or something. Add some activity, random activity like that, and let them enjoy that, creating something out of their creativity, innovating something. And that is also going to give you also a very good learning experience. That students also are very good teachers, which give you experiences, and you can apply those experiences in your next batches, make your teaching more concrete and more impactful. Emotional safeguarding. As a teacher, you have to protect the emotions of the students well, so they should not get hurt, they should not get badly impacted. This does not mean that you should keep them in cocoon. Let them have exposure, but build them so strong so they should face the emotional challenges. But at least from your side, you should not create any kind of emotional disaster for them by giving a negative kind of having negative kind of approach, being prejudgmental, okay, or behaving badly, or talking rudely or with a loud voice to the children. You have to very patient, polite, and firm. Practicing patience is very important as a teacher, because every child needs have a different need. There might be some slow learners who are very slow in understanding, finishing their tasks. You have to be with them. There are some very fast learners who need more and more. They are very hungry learners. You have to be patient in providing them whatever they need by creating new kind of worksheets, or researching more and building some more material. And you have to balance these two polar parts, slow learners and advanced learners, in your classroom. And for that, your patience is the key. Never, never, ever judge anyone immediately. You always try to understand their background. Perseverance is another thing. Model greed or perseverance, so it is learned organically through observation. So perseverance helps the students also to sustain their learning. Nurturing, vulnerable, and empathetic. Be the teacher you always wanted to be, and not the one others expect you to become. So being a teacher, you understand You are the one who is going to create a larger impact on the crowd that you are handling, on every individual, every part of that crowd. So you have to be nurturing. You don't have to be vulnerable, okay? You have to be nurturing to them. You have to help them to emotionally regulating their emotions well. And you always have to empathetic, kind, approachable, and attentive to the students. So that is what is being an elephant teacher. Facilitation is very important here. Let the student be creative. Involve creativity in your teaching. They should get interesting motivation from the completion of a task, let's say. They will get the sense of achievement. Teach them to set their goals for their studies, for their life, for every subject, for every activity, for their personal and professional life. And help them out to have the mastery over those goals. That should be the target of you as a teacher. And ultimately, they will always get the sense of achievement, which will be the key motivating factor for them to keep learning and build the positive ambience in the class. There will be always dependency. Every individual is dependent on the other. So build them strong to even be capable in those dependency. For example, nurture their social behavior, make them social by creating certain kind of team activities, help them have good interpersonal skills. Many students face ability in interpersonal skills nowadays because of gadgets, because of various, let's say, mobile phone, Instagram. They are becoming very introverts. They are more engaged in that device and they don't prefer speaking to others. They don't prefer going out. They are not being social. They are not interacting people. So they don't know how to handle and how to react to various situations. So in classroom, you should train them where they will work in team. They will communicate to each other and they should successfully complete the task. They will definitely face a lot of difficulty. They will argue, they will cry, they will leave the task at hand in the middle of it. But you have to keep motivating them. You have to keep guiding them whenever they need to remove their mental blocks so they can flow smoothly. Assessment and evaluation are very important, like formative and summative assessment, and giving correct feedback so that you can judge the progress of the students in the classes. Expectations are there. Students understand students' expectations also from time to time. You also tell your expectations in a very positive way, so that will be the motivating factor to them. And be supportive whenever they want, be aware and be available. Always make sure to put efforts in measuring the progress of the student. For example, this is just one key for making note for your subject. But you can even, if you are a class teacher, make the note in this way for their behavior, for their progress. Okay, for example, how much they have scored in term 1, how is in term 2, how is in this subject, how is in other. If certain student is facing some problem in some interpersonal skills or some behavioral issue, you have teachers complaint against that child, then you should create excel sheet or some document where you are noting down the changes in the student. If you are giving some counseling, psychology counseling to the student, if some positive changes are happening, then as a counselor, the person should note these things down like this. So that is going to help you have a kind of a roadmap ready, a kind of a picture in front of your eyes at the end of the year, and which is going to you can even put it in the bar graph, which is going to show you out if an individual has been progress. I understand this is a too much task for a teacher to do, along with taking care of their teaching, documentation, and respective responsibilities. But understand, this work of yours, this dedication of yours is going to help someone out a lot and groom a person, build a successful personality who is going to lead a successful personal and professional life in future. Understand, you are going to be like that, wishing tree who is going to bless each and every kid in the classroom to be the very healthy, mindful, and happy individual in their personal and professional life. So this is from my side. I open this session for discussion. If you have any questions, any queries, please come forth. Yes.